if Russia really had some 10,000 plus tanks. It was a claim that was often repeated 4 years ago when the war in Ukraine just started. It turned out they didn't. It was a decades-old figure, but it actually wasn't that far off. Just looking back at these images from then, it's crazy to see packed full storage bases. Over the next few years, we watched the numbers decline further and further and estimating when they would effectively run out of tanks. Now, realistically, as we've said for years, it's not like there's going to be a sudden moment where they have tanks and then the next day they don't. It's gradual. The best are taken first when those are gone, the decent ones. Then they have to settle for the poorer and poorer ones. It eventually gets to the point where they have to decide whether it's even worth the time and money and effort needed to turn this rust bucket into a functioning tank, or maybe instead cut back on using the remaining tanks in combat to avoid further losses. And that'll be the sign that Russia is actually starting to run out of tanks. And today we're seeing both. And nowhere is that more apparent than with their T-80. When the war began, they had 1,679 of them. Here we are 4 years later, and after countless hours of searching and acquiring satellite imagery over the whole period, we find that there are only 134 T-80s left in storage. That's it. No one is building any more of them. Despite Russia's countless claims that production would restart over the last few years without new production, it'll likely go extinct this year from storage, and it will become the first full tank type completely gone and checked off the list. First, real fast, a sponsor I use myself, Exter. The Exter wallet is a future of wallets. They have a huge assortment of wallets to pick from, but the one that I personally use is this masterpiece. Just like the others, it has a slick, quick metal card ejector and can carry 7 cards. But the one thing I love that I've discovered is that you don't need 7 cards. Personally, I only carry 3, but you can even have just one in there and it won't slide or fall out. A past phone wallet that I had. My idea had slid out just before a 15-hour drive for a family vacation. I didn't realize it until after an hour. I had to turn around, drive back home and get it. Not with Extra. And after several months of using it, it still looks brand new. And they have a wide variety of products beyond wallets, the Cardender being one. Also, a really useful travel pack vacuum kit to save space on the go and much more. Slimmer style, smarter packing. That's just the beginning of what you'll get with Extra. So go over and check them out. And right now, you can still take advantage of their Valentine's Day sale. You'll get their 45% off plus another 20% with my code. That's up to 65% off. Upgrade your carry today with Exter. In the mid-Cold War, the Soviet Union sought to focus on building an army with 2 different types of tanks. One real high-end powerful gas turbine engine that could go toe-to-toe with anything on the battlefield, including what would become its rival, the US M1 Abrams, and the other just a good, quick, cheap, mass-reduced tank more intended for mobilized forces, and that would achieve victory more in sheer numbers. That tank was a T-72, the top-of-the-line tank, the T-80. The T-80 has 2 main variants, the T-80B and T-80U, and there's enough difference between them that you'll notice that we often separate them in our numbers. They were built at 3 different plants. The original T-80, which they never produced very many of, was built in Leningrad, modern-day St. Petersburg, Russia. The T-80B eventually saw production move to OMS, where they built over 5,000. And that factory there today still plays a huge role in repairing and upgrading T-80Bs, which is very important, and we'll get into later on. Then in the mid-80s, the T-80U began production there. By that time, though, the Cold War was coming to an end. The Soviet Union collapsed shortly later, and no one needed so many tanks. Production there ended with just 430 being built. Around the same time at the Hart plant in what is now Ukraine, a different variant with a diesel engine was built, the T-80UD. The diesel engine made for a simpler and less fuel and maintenance demanding tank, however, at the cost of some performance. That production ended after just 400 or 500 were built. Since then, no brand new T-80 tank of any type